as well as faculty also.
Also practicing architects.
Oh, great, great. Yes, we have a friend from Mexico also, Margarita.
Yeah, hello, welcome. Yeah, welcome, ma'am.
And we have another friend. Hmm?
Yeah, okay, Nikhil sir, Sonali ma'am, can we start with the session now? It's almost 3:30 or 2:34 participants.
Yes, ma'am, please
Yes.
proceed.
Okay. A warm welcome to all the participants. I, Professor Manisha Elne, on behalf of myself and Priyadarshini Institute of Architecture and Design Studies, Nagpur, welcome all the participants in today's webinar. The topic of today's webinar is origami in architecture. Origami is a traditional Japanese art, but recently it has become a widespread source of inspiration for architects.
Ma'am, there is
Yeah? Yes, sir? Okay. So origami is a traditional Japanese art, but recently it has become a widespread source of inspiration for architects. Am I not audible? Okay. At PIADS, we had been researching and exploring activities related to architectural modeling. Origami is one of such closely associated activities which helps us studying architecture through its miniature form. Hence, it is necessary for all the architects to understand the importance of origami. So, the think tank of Core PIADS decided to hold a webinar on this topic. So, there shall be a series of webinar on this topic. Now, before proceeding with the session, I would request Professor Sonali Borate to give a brief introduction of our Sanstha.
Welcome to Priyadarshini. Welcome to Priyadarshini Institute of Architecture and Design Studies, Nagpur. Lokmanya Tilak Janakalyan Shikshan Sanstha is recognized as one of the progressive educational institutes in Maharashtra. LTJSS was founded in 1983 by Honorable Sri Satish Chaturvedi as chairperson and Srimati Abha Chaturvedi as secretary and Sri Dushyant Chaturvedi. Leader of Lokmanya Parivar, Sri Abhijit Deshmukh, Director LTJSS, Professor Habib Khan, Director Architecture, Professor Nishant Panapure, Principal PIADS. Vision of PIADS. We shall strive to achieve a meaningful, human and sensitive architecture by Architect Habib Khan. PIADS ranked in top 25 institutes out of 458 top architecture colleges in India. PIADS also offered 2 postgraduate programs, that is, Industrial Design MDes and Landscape Architecture MArch. Here we have few glimpses of PIADS. Thank you. Manisha ma'am, you are mute.
Okay, thank you, Professor Sonali. Now, today's speaker does not need any introduction, but since it is customary, please let me do the honor. So, dear friends, it's a pleasure and pride to introduce today's speaker, architect Anand Vishwanathan. Architect Anand is a practicing architect from New Delhi with interest in signage and visual communication, graphics design, logo, and branding. Through his firm, Beyond Space, he has worked for many prestigious projects pan-India, including Ministry of External Affairs, Ministry of Culture, NBCC Limited, RITES Limited, National Council of Science Museum, Directorate of Urban Local Bodies Haryana, Archaeological Survey of India, IHCNF, UNESCO, and many more. He has designed the first ever graphical signage for World Heritage Site of Red Fort and Qutub Minar and National Museum, Delhi. He has also worked extensively on International Terminal 3 airport building at New Delhi for a very challenging signage and visual communication assignment. He is also a visiting faculty at CEPT and NID Ahmedabad, teaching subjects like deployable structure, 3D geometry, polyhedra, basic design and graphics, packaging design, and branding. Origami has been his passion since childhood, and for past 8 years, he has been consistently delivering his creativity in this field. Now I request architect Anand to start with the presentation, but before that, the house shall be open for question and answer after this session. All those who want to ask any question, that please put your queries and question in chat box. We'll ask those questions on your behalf to Anand. Yes, over to you, architect Anand.
Thank you, Manisha, so much for inviting me and for the opportunity to share this art and also the inspiration from this art into the design field. So I'm going to share not only architecture but also other design areas like packaging and even structures and and like other things. So like you said, yeah, origami has always been my interest since childhood. I never did it for anything else rather than just fun and the curiosity behind what would we make out of paper, out of a flat sheet of paper. So, and this art is so restrictive. You all know, origami just allows only folding paper. I mean, not even cutting or not even sticking. So just by folding techniques, how this art form has transformed itself to such a wide field, it's inspiring so many fields today. So I think let me start by sharing the presentation. I've put a few slides to show you. Just a minute. Yeah. Okay, you can see now. You can see the screen, right?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, we all know what is origami. It is folding paper, but actually, it is much more than that. So let me start with the origin of origami. We all know it is hundreds of years old, but we never had any proof of origami until we they came across these paintings of Japanese ladies making the Japanese crane. So it started off as a tradition, as a ritual, and then around 100 years back, this person Akira Yoshizawa, he totally transformed this art, he brought it to the masses, from they never had any drawings or anything as such, I guess, but he made a language of mountains and valleys. Origami is a game of mountains and valleys. So he brought about this change, and he developed a language of diagrams to bring to the world. So he is known as the grandmaster of origami. Around 50,000 plus designs are attributed to this person. He died in 2005. So the kind of drawings and the diagrams that he developed made it very clear to to anybody who would read them, and it became so easy for us to understand. And from those simple cranes or from those simple objects, now origami has become so complex. There's so much of naturalism happening right now. I mean, the kind of details and things that are happening nowadays, it's just amazing. And there are physicists like Robert Lang who are into this field, and who are getting inspired by this thing. And he has even written many books, and he has made so many models. So what changed from the tradition to the current origami? I think the answer is that mathematics. We have now understood, we have like unfolded origami and seen how the pattern works and what kind of patterns are now emerging. And now we are trying to control the folds, and we are trying to make our own, objects. So a very simple thing that is used in design, these are a couple of tessellations. It's named after Koryo Miura. It's called the Miura tessellation. So again, it's a mountain and valley series of them. So it helps the paper to fold flat in another dimension. So rather than XY, it folds in YZ. And then you have the Yoshimura tessellation, also known as the X form. This is also very, very widely used. I'll be sharing some buildings and products that follow the Yoshimura tessellation. Yeah, this is there one good example how to make a small shelter. Then you have the water bomb tessellation and so on. So you have many bases and you have many tessellations in origami that are being used in design nowadays. Other easy things like if you want to get 1/3 of paper, so you just make 2 creases and you get exactly the point which is 1/3 in both the directions. It applies for any proportion of paper. So, and also trisecting an angle using a compass and a scale would be much tougher than using origami. Origami just make 3 or 4 folds and even trisect an angle. It's not bisecting, it's trisecting. So trisecting is a little tricky. And finding a center of a circle, just fold the paper into 2 halves any direction, and where they intersect, you get the center of the circle. So origami again can be used to for these things. So from even today, they have 1,000 cranes wedding ceremony in Japan. Even in India, they started. I keep getting so many calls and asking for help to make 1,000 cranes. Crane is a symbol of longevity, so that's why they make cranes in Japan. And then ceremonial purposes. Then it slowly shifted to occasions. And then ultimately, it is also, I would like to call it a silent revolution. So instead of being violent and, like other things, this is a very good way to, for silent revolution. Yeah, peaceful. It's a very peaceful art, actually, if you see. So what is origami? Actually, now let us come to the other aspects of origami. I would, for me, it is a point number 1, which was a creative pastime. Initially, it was a stress buster. It still is a stress buster for me. Like when I am tired of designing something, I fold a paper for some time and my stress just disappears. And yes, a mathematical puzzle. That is also one of the main interest for the last, I think, 10 years. The modular origami, like you make 30 pieces, 50 pieces, 60 pieces, and the way you join them together, I think that is also very exciting and fascinating. And yeah, I always used to use magazine paper and waste paper too. So I'm actually recycling paper and making beautiful models. And the last thing which is true is that it is meditation. If you sit to meditate consciously, it is impossible. Your mind will will be wandering around here and there. But if you do some art form like painting or origami or anything, any hand hand done art, I think it is as good as meditation, because you are subconsciously into the whole thing, and you don't know where time just disappears. So for me, it is like a meditation also. The benefits are that it improves your concentration, your memory, your patience. Definitely, I can vouch for that. And it is a good training for cognitive skills. I'll just share that in the next slide. And inspiration for design, that also I will share later. So what are cognitive skills? They are the basic core skills that our brain uses: thinking, reading, learning. Every like 24 hours we are improving, we are using these skills. So it improves your cognitive skills, your hand brain coordination. It has been proven to prevent diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So Alzheimer's, you see, from 19 onwards nowadays, so difficulty in remembering. So origami, there are so much variety of origami that it'll help you remember things. And Parkinson's, it's again a nervous disorder where hands start to shake and there's slowness of motion. We are slowly losing all these art forms. So the age, you see the age 6 onwards, so it definitely prevents these diseases to some extent. This is a quote that I would like to share, that when we rely too much on machines, our soul becomes machine-like. So I think we must not completely, depend on machines and computers. We should have hobbies that are, uh, you know, uh, like these hand done, or hand, or like puzzle solving. So I'm a person, I think, I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't like to sit free at all. I cannot sit free. I'm all the time either solving some puzzle or, and right now I'm learning Urdu. So Urdu is another language which has come out of Persian. So I am really enjoying writing these Urdu, typography with, calligraphy. Yeah, so it's a new language. It's like a puzzle again. So there are so many things to do. I think 3 or 4 lifetimes are less to learn the kind of art that is, there in this world. So we must be busy. That's what my intention is, and that's what I want to share. So coming to the technical aspect of origami, ori means folding and kami means paper. So origami is folding paper. There's something called kirigami also, in which you cut and glue. So the technical definition would be to fold a flat sheet of paper into finished sculpture using without cutting or gluing, just through folding and sculpting techniques. It is inexpensive. It can be done anywhere. It can be done at like any time by anyone. There's no restriction. Let me give you an example. I was making a carbon structure which had, I think, 315 pieces. So Delhi has a lot of traffic jams. So spending 2 hours in the traffic jam doing nothing. So I started carrying with me paper, in the car. And whenever there's a jam, I just take out those papers and I start making the units. So I made the entire, I like all the 315 pieces. I made it on the road. So I just tell everybody proudly that this nano tube has been, made on the road. So yeah, so that's how I converted my stress into something positive. Like, instead of getting stressful in the traffic jam, it's better to get yourself busy doing something. Even in meetings, even in flights, even in journeys, I always carry paper with me and I do something. Hours just pass by and you don't even know about it. It's better than sleeping. So there's no age restriction like kids do in Japan. You see kids, you see even 100-year-old people doing origami, and their hands don't shake, and they're like brilliant with paper. So yeah. So now let's come to the main topic of our discussion, which is inspiration from origami. So let me start with architecture. This is a very good example that I always start with by showing. It's a Tokyo residence, a small corner plot, and the architect, I think, instead of making those boxes which you see everywhere, he made this very unique and interesting form, which is almost like derived from origami. And he had a good, they have a good parking space for a car there. It's probably like a studio apartment or something, I don't know, but it seemed very fascinating using origami and the interiors. And yeah, this is how it looks, around it, like stands out totally. Then there is a house in Barcelona which is known as Origami House. So from the top, it looks like folded paper has been just kept there. I mean, the roofs are like pieces of folded paper, and you see the groove lines, they follow the ceiling rather than the flooring line. That even gives more interest to the whole thing. The roofing and everything is like they've used the concept of folding. This is a good example. Then this is a concept building in China. I don't think it was constructed, but it was designed by 3G Architecture Studio, and it was an automobile museum. They took their inspiration directly from origami. So they had this like a spiral bit of paper, and this is, these are the elevations. This is a plan, and it seemed like the paper has been just lifted up like a spiral. So this is how they have taken inspiration. I want to say that you can have two kinds of inspirations from origami. One is looking at the form. One is inspiration that you can pick from the form, and one is the functionality of origami. So which is like the movement or the space saving, or the deployability in the model that you get. So there are two of these aspects. This one is the aspect in which they have taken the inspiration from the form of origami, from the design. So it's a simple folded plate structure. Quite interesting to look at. Then this is a very good example. This it featured in National Geographic, one of the TV shows, Capital Gate building. So this is in Abu Dhabi. It's a very organic looking building. If you look at the elevation also, it's not straight. It is slightly, curving to the left side. And this is the plan of the building. So it's organic. So the problem came when they had to do the glazing for the building, put glass on the building. How do you put glass on this building? I mean, no square meter would be the same. It's like turning so much. So they mentioned this specifically in that presentation. They got inspiration from origami. What they did, they divided the whole building into frames, going diagonally. And every diagonal was then subdivided into 9 squares, like you see here. So this is a rhombus, and it's divided into 9 squares. And the dimension is the same of the rhombus. So what happened? They divided this rhombus into into 9 squares, and then each square into 2 triangles. So all the triangles are the same size. So across the building. So the triangles, these triangular pieces of glass were sent for mass production, and in the meantime the frames were installed on the building, and they could just clad the building using the same size glass throughout, from top to bottom. So wherever there's a curve, it bends more there, but the sizes of the glass remain the same, and the dimensions are the same, so they don't change. So that is one special aspect. This is one of the Yoshimura tessellations that they've picked it up from. It's quite an interesting solution. Then you have another inspiration from the Yoshimura tessellation, which is the Poly International Plaza. This is large scale. I mean, each triangle here is almost like 3 floors, and they picked up from this Yoshimura tessellation. That is the interior of the building. You see there almost 2 or 3 floors. Each triangle is, it's a massive structural thing. Then, yeah, our very own country also has a few examples. I think Hemkund Sahib is one of the oldest gurudwaras uh, in Uttarakhand. So Sikhism, I think, is a very practical religion. So it snows a lot here. So they have used a simple base here, water bomb base, to make the roofing for the building. So it's a very simple. You make two diagonals in valleys and the halves in mountains, and you can achieve this kind of roof. It's very simple. So I think this is also a good example of using origami in as a form. It's a pretty difficult walk to reach here, 15-16 kilometers of walking. Then, yeah, now coming to the functionality or the the deployable aspect of origami, the movement or the action involved is the Al Bahar Towers in Abu Dhabi. So they have it's quite hot there, 50 plus probably. So they have a very advanced interactive sun shading skin system. So you see this here, they have again divided the whole building into triangles, and they have that the same base that was used for the Hemkund Sahib, just the reverse of this is like a bird base, but in a triangular form. So they have actually worked out this system using origami, and so parts of the building they close and open as and when the sun comes and goes. So, and it's all electrically controlled from the inside. So the good part about this is that the edges of the triangle, they remain static, they don't move. It's only the faces that are compressing and opening up. This is a GIF that will make it very clear. So the ridges are the mountains and the smaller lines are the valleys. So they have a system of maybe they might have even put sensors here. So as the sun moves, that part of the building folds and opens up. So using origami in a very good way to, yeah, this is I think one of the initial details that they worked out. So see, basically, if you transform origami into such structures, you need to work it out on a larger scale, and you need to play with hinges and pivots, and the joinery details. It makes a lot of difference. It is quite important to work out the joinery details and the joinery. Barclays Bank headquarters in Paris. This is again manual. These architects have designed this. So using again this type of origami, and they've made a few cuts there. So it is for the basically it's a second skin in front of the building, just like the Abu Dhabi one, but making it a little more interesting. And they have the stone texture on that translucent polycarbonate sheet there. So it's not completely opaque. And also on the top floor, it acts as a railing where this tessellation ends. So it's quite an interesting way. This is Origami Pavilion by Studio Morrison. Also quite interesting. Again, they have made wooden frames and they have covered it with some kind of a sheet. It's a small pavilion in the middle of the greens. So again, it's a little translucent sheet that they've used for the surface. Yeah, this is a wooden frame structure. This is a residential building in Portland in US. So that black thing you see there, the roof of that building is like an origami folded strip of paper into different parts. So you have mountains and valleys, mountain valleys. Makes it quite interesting from the top, at least, and serves a purpose also. Okay, now, sorry, this is a small building I was doing in Gurgaon in near Delhi. So it was a public toilet. So I thought, why not at least have one wall, at least have the front wall as a folded plate structure. So yeah, this is what I designed. And this is what, so the faces, I had those little punchers in the faces where it was little recessed, where I wanted to have quotes about cleanliness and about social things. This got constructed, but I don't know what stage it is right now. They are yet to clad stone. I had suggested them to clad stone on the facade of the building. Yeah, in parachute folding, in car airbags, they use origami. It has to be folded in a certain way to such that it just deploys in a very quick time. Some origami inspired structures. This is the Lotus Temple in Delhi, the Baha'i house of worship. So it looks like a very pretty origami model that I make. This is another example, Christchurch Cathedral in Spain. So basically origami, what happens, it gives you faces, right? Facets. So these buildings are like divided into facets that make it look interesting. So a little deconstructive architecture is there. This is a kiosk in London that closes and opens using the traditional, our accordion fold. So when it's open, it's like this, and when it closes, it's like this from the side. So an interesting uh, approach to using the accordion fold, useful. These are some unknown buildings that I found on the net. Something interesting, this looks a lot like a model that I make out of using triangles. It's a modular origami thing. And then there are endless examples of facade systems, skin, the second skin on the building that involves folding and functionality of the thing to protect it from sunlight and things. So these are like endless. All over the world, you'll find these such kind of buildings. This is another really fantastic way. The way they've clad the building in this thing is probably a 3D render, but it makes the building look really amazing and deconstructive. So I think just playing with the paper will give you so many ideas about the way you use it to cover your building. And the application is like pretty easy. If you don't want to use the folding techniques, you at least use a form of origami to clad your building. So making making MS frames and then cladding it using some kind of a surface material would completely transform your boring rectangular boxes into something interesting. Yeah, now exactly. So now you look here, the columns are not the traditional rectangular columns. They've clad it, in some maybe DuPont Korean or something, some kind of a seamless material to make it look more interesting. So the space is not looking boring anymore. It's looking very different, and you see so many facets of each face reflecting light in a different way. Again, same thing here, origami used as a form. So dividing the building into strips, and then each strip folds in a different way. Quite interesting. This is also a construct building. I don't know where this is, but I found it quite interesting, the way they have wrapped this building around in a sheet or in a planar material. It's a good example. These are actually really good examples of deconstruction that we should try. This is another one. Coming to furniture design, this is a dodecahedron that we usually make out of 30 pieces. So some furniture that has been inspired by this particular 3D object, and that also looks like a folded sheet. Then you have icosahedrons. So some more good examples using the icosahedron. It's all made in ply with the joinery. Just a simple turn or a fold can give you such good ideas. This is like a foldable thing, a chair that folds into a little stool, or a chair that opens up, and from inside you get a cushion like object. Ceiling, there are endless ways to play with the facets. This is a hotel in Shimla that they'd used the same kind of tessellation for the ceiling, and they backlit it. These are like partition systems. Furniture, yeah, endless way. This is a concrete bench that I designed. So I had truncated two opposite vertices, and I got this particular form, which seemed to be, not balancing out somehow, but it is properly balancing. It has a nice foundation and all. This is a very initial RCC thing that we made. Yeah, this is another project that I did in Calcutta. So our client, he wanted to hide that RCC base you see there. They had something else earlier, but then they wanted to remove it. It was very difficult to break RCC and remove it. So I was doing a signage project here. So they approached me and they said, could you make an inauguration pedestal here? So I said, if you give me freedom, then I will do it for you. So they said, yeah, you do anything. And fortunately, this was Coal India. So coal means that carbon structure. So graphite or diamond. So I thought this is a good opportunity to use origami here. So I had no computers at that particular period of time. So I had to hand draw it. So I designed something, and then we made a brick wall, and then slowly we started cladding it in stone as per the design. Even the people who are doing the stone cladding, they didn't know what the hell is going on. So I got inspired by this particular object, which is called the stellated octahedron. So this is an origami model. And then after cladding in many layers, yeah, so see, this is the hand-drawn sketch. So that's what I'm saying. We should not rely too much on computers and AutoCAD and machines. If you're left with nothing, you should be able to use your mathematics, or trigonometry, or whatever, or the Pythagoras theorems, or whatever to or design. So you should be ready for that. So yeah, finally, after a couple of days, this is what emerged out of it. And it was quite tough because every stone joint has that it has been chamfered to make the edge. This was in 2014 or 15, yeah. So we were quite happy with the way it came out. Black granite, nice facets. And then I went back and I made the drawing and I gave it to the client. So this is how it looked like. I mean, the purpose was to hide that base down there. So maybe I think sometimes that if that had not been there, I wouldn't have made this. So sometimes such situations, they help you come up with good ideas. Restrictions are always good. I always speak in my design class that if you have restrictions, then that means it is good. If you don't have restrictions, then you might not be able to bring out the best in yourself. So restrictions are a boon, actually, if you look at it in the right positive way. This is a very recent signage project I did just last couple of months back. So MSME, medium and small, what is the full form? Enterprise. Micro, small and medium enterprise. Yeah, Government of India. This is Government of Haryana. So the logo you see is a plane. I immediately got an idea. Why not use origami here? Because it's an origami plane. So I picked up these two colors that I see in the logo, and I picked up origami tessellations. So this one, if you can see my screen here, yeah, the way it reflects light, you see this? So I was inspired by this. So I divided it into equilateral triangles, and the contrast we have to be quite careful about the contrast ratios and all in the signage. So yeah, so this was the door signage for the conference room. These were the facility signages that were either wall mounted. So again, origami looking graphics. So this is the first time I used graphics in origami, and I think it came out pretty nice and with good contrast. This was the main identification signage for their departments. Some more signages. Then, yeah, the statutory signages for the lift and for no smoking. And then there were many other categories that had the same color combination and ideas. This was a door signs which were changeable, like you take out a print and you insert them. Yeah, this was we used a technique called flatbed printing. So we took acrylic sheets and we printed it directly on the acrylic sheet using the flatbed printing technique, frosted acrylic. So it was looking quite nice. This was the director's office on the right side, and the door, the vinyl stickers that you see on the both the sides of the thing of the glass door. Yeah, these were the different departments that are there. So in this frosted acrylic, you see a little diffused light that comes from behind. So it was, we're quite happy with this, the way it came out. Yeah, then I teach in CEPT University, so I take a studio on deployable structures. So we rely on uh, two kinds of inspirations. One is surface structures, which are usually origami tessellations, and strut structures, which are scissor mechanisms. So I will, of course, not be sharing the scissor ones, but some students, they come up with good ideas using the tessellations. This is the Mura tessellation, for example. So if you break one, now the problem is how we are, see, paper is a planar plane, right? It has no dimension, it has no third dimension. But whereas when you start making with a ply, it has a dimension, 20 mm, 25 mm. So we have to be careful using hinges at that time. So that's where hinges play a special part in converting these planar things into 3D. Some of the hinges that we normally try to use. This was designed by a student. The space was looking very architectural from the inside, very interesting. And so this is the a concept or the whole exploration that they did using a very simple water bomb base, and then multiplying it twice, thrice, four times, and then joining them together. So they had to work out the surface development. When you unfold it flat, what does it become? This is a slightly large scale model, 1:20 or something, that they made. It was folding fine. They welded the hinges at the right place. So see, this is 1/3 deployed, this is half, and this is undeployed. So it from 2000 mm it goes till 10,000 mm. So 1:5, 500 times it opens up. This is the accordion fold that another student got inspired from, and he made this structure here. And the actual drawings were all I don't have them right now, but he had put wheels at the base and a kind of a track system that the whole thing runs on. This was for a car garage or something that he had designed, not too big, 3 meters, something like that. Then this is from the last semester studio. He had taken this accordion fold and got inspired by that, and he made this structure. So when it folds flat, this is how it looks like on the right side. And these are the journey details that he worked out. It had wheels at the bottom. Yeah, this was the main scale of the whole thing. Then coming to product design, you have really good ideas from all over the world. A tent or a backpack that has been designed by David Schatz. It is lightweight and easy to carry, and it unfolds into a nice tent where an adult can just sleep inside, in a public place or while trekking or anywhere. Quite nice as an idea. This is a stent that has been inspired by the water bomb tessellation. It's a 30 mm stent that goes in, and it has been used also. Very high grade stainless steel. It goes inside, and then it just flares open. So it unblocks your arteries. So this is being used. It's origami in the most macro scale that I've ever seen. 30 mm. Now we'll come to the large scale also after this. This is another good idea. Concept drawings using, for social problems, for disaster management. So something that goes flat in a truck or something, and just unfolds into a. So every triangular space is a space for a family to stay there at least for a day or two until help arrives. This is a kinetic table by Mr. Kim. An idea of having no joint and still be able to construct a structure. So this is, I think Manisha knows, we made this in the workshop. It is an action origami inspired thing. So you can use it in many different ways, that one on top, one on the bottom. So place your glass as in how you like. Lamps, there are endless ways. You fold the paper into any way, it becomes a lamp. You just have to put your bulb into it. Again, these few facets wale paper, you just have to use the right paper for this, and the right kind of light. This is a lamp I made in NID using the Yoshimura tessellation. So this Yoshimura tessellation is something that you can control. Here you have almost equilateral triangles. If you go for acute angle triangles or obtuse angle triangles, you come up with different more variations of the face of the structures. So experimenting with that itself will give you quite good ideas. Yeah, this is another lamp I made using the water bomb tessellation. Yeah, so I bound it at one corner and I let it loose on the other corner. So it made a nice lamp. So I have this on an Etsy account. I sell this. So this is a simple tessellation that I use. The bold lines are you can call them the mountains, and the dotted lines are the valley folds. So adding a simple fold completely changes the dimension of the particular object or the furniture, like the sink you see here. So creative. It's a flat sheet of paper. This is DuPont Korean. So jewelry people do. My cousin sister makes miniature jewelries out of very tiny pieces of paper, and she actually wears them. So the stent comes again. This is a fantastic example which was used by Robert Lang. I told you Robert Lang was a NASA physicist. He's big time into origami. He used this particular tessellation. You see the way it completely compresses. So he compressed a massive solar panel into a tiny ship, and he sent it up into space. So this is a macro scale. The stent was the tiniest scale, and this is the largest scale. So just working out the geometry of this and converting it into a little thicker material would be really, I think, interesting and challenging, fun. Yeah, another really good architect is Chuck Hoberman, US based. He also does a lot of these crazy puzzle solving ideas like the scissor mechanisms, the Hoberman ring. He has created the Hoberman ring, and this is one of his ideas of folding a structure into a tiny little thing that you see on the first step there, and then it folds. It unfolds into a large tent structure. You have to do a few modifications. This is by Future Systems, a tent that can house a lot of people, and that takes a half an hour to deploy by just 12 people. You can airdrop it, you can bring it in a truck. Quite an interesting way to make a tent. There it is. Then, yeah, the umbrellas of Mecca and Medina, they are amazing examples of, see, umbrellas, of course, the frame structure is there, but the way the surface folds You can control it. It again can have origami if you like, if you are not using fabric or anything. These are some more examples of the Yoshimura tessellation, making shelters out of that. This one also. This is the simple accordion fold. I had it with me. This is different, the one in my hand. But yeah, this is also there. Simple accordion fold. This is the X form, Yoshimura. And you see the hinges there, the way they have put the hinges. This folds flat, totally, the one on the right side. Then there is this thing called cardboard origami. They use cardboard to make, I think it's going on right now, to make these shelters. So recycled. It's quite interesting. See the scale at which, so this also comes flat and then it opens up. Then a packaging design. We all know a paper bag, a very normal paper bag, you must have never noticed. It has that play of mountains and valleys at the base, so that it becomes a 3D paper bag, you know. So there's a lot of creativity which we can. Now this tessellation is used to prevent the bottle from hitting the sides. So it's a good thing to act like a buffer for sending fragile objects in packaging. Making packaging without using glue is another challenge. That's a pillow pack. I take a course on packaging design also. So one of the chapters, it involves origami. Now the same thing, you remember the Poly International Plaza, that huge building I showed you, which each triangle was 3 floors. Now each triangle is, I think 1 inch. So this is in a lower or in a smaller scale, using the same tessellation. Some origami installations that I've done earlier, most of them at NID I've done. So it's a test of patience, basically. We made 1,000 pieces here in this one. So there were around 10 students. So we had this hexagonal tiling, and we made a flat surface. All of them, I mean, I didn't do anything. The students were doing it. 1,000 pieces, and then we put it up on the ceiling. And then we did projection mapping. There's something called projection mapping. And then they made some animation and music, and it was pretty trippy and fun to do. Then the next year, we did something else. This time it was a 2,000 unit installation. Very simple triangle. This is the Sonob unit. It was named after Toshi and Sonob. So instead of making a buckyball or something, we made it flat. Then we worked out the location where we want to install it and how many pieces were required. It became quite heavy, so we had to reinforce it from the back, because the self weight itself was so much that it would not have withstood the weight. But we somehow managed to fix it up and hang it. So it laid suspended there for around 9 or 10 months. And it was quite exciting. This is the look from the back. This is the front side. And when the lights were off at the back, light filtered in from the front side. So it looked amazing at the back. Again, they did some projection mapping on it, some dinosaurs walking around. Yeah, it was interesting. This is in my own college in SEPT. We used another tessellation this time, another unit to make this. So we made a backdrop for the convocation. So we thought we'll use it somewhere. So we again had to reinforce it with some little thicker paper, and you had flowers here and there. And we used waste paper. All these papers are out of the submissions that are done by the previous students, So instead of just throwing it away, we cut them into squares, and we or around 12 inches by 12 inches squares, and they made this. I don't know, probably 1500 pieces or more, I think. Yeah, so the convocation was held there. It didn't look too big. So that is done with the inspiration from origami. Let me just help you go through types of origami. So I think we can classify them into a few categories, like living origami. So living origami, every unit is different, every model is different. You need to remember a lot here. So the camel, the dog, everything has its own different set of folds. Vases, it's an asymmetric vase. So these things, I think, come under living origami. Then there's something called wet folding, which I have not tried yet. Here you use a special kind of paper, and you moist it, and then you do a little bit of sculpting at the end, and when it dries, it stays like that. I need to try this someday. You can add a lot of details into this wet folding, and that is action origami. Something really exciting. Action origami is always fascinating because it's moving. So there are a few of these models that we do in the workshops. This one especially is by Yami Yamauchi. He had designed this. It's called Fireworks. He's the creator of this particular thing. What are tessellations? Now that's another interesting topic. Tessellations are a repetition of a geometric shape with no overlaps and gaps. Basically it's a graphic term. MC Escher is a Dutch artist, and he's one of the greatest minds to have created tessellations ever. So you see there are no gaps and there are no overlaps. It fits perfectly into each other. You must check out his works. MC Escher. So yeah, so these are some tessellations in graphics, but tessellations in origami are very, very tough. The pre-creasing that you have to do before, that takes hours. So, and it is done by using one sheet of paper. So you spend hours folding a huge sheet of paper, and that ultimately becomes a little thing. So yeah, there are endless numbers of tessellations that people have designed. It's crazy. Some are flat like this, some are three-dimensional like this. Yeah, and then there's a thing called fractal also. Fractals are also like tessellations, but they are progressively scaling down of the pattern. And it usually follows a certain algorithm like the golden ratio. You know what is golden ratio? You all must have heard about the golden ratio. It's 1:1.618. So that particular curve, the C curve, is the next one is 1.618 times the first one. So it's going in a spiral. So you have this in nature. This is a cross section through a shell. This is a rock rose. That is you can see in outer space the Milky Way, the galaxy. So from the smallest scale to a larger scale, it supposedly follows the golden ratio. That's a sunflower. So this is the way the golden ratio is. And this is the way to construct it. You take the midpoint of the square and you take a compass and you drop it down. So that bottom one is √5/2, which is 1.618 times. Many logos and many graphic designers, they use this golden ratio in some way or the other. You might not even know, Twitter or Apple has used the golden ratio, and the National Geographic rectangle uses the golden ratio. So even Trump uses the golden ratio for his hairstyle. So these are fractals, again out of a single sheet of paper. Very, very tough. It's even probably more complex than the tessellations, or maybe equally. Yeah, now that is one sheet of paper. Can you believe it? So inside, outside, inside, outside. This is one of my favorites. It's the Shuzo Fujimoto flower fractal. And once you make this, once you do origami, you are like hooked onto it. You know, it's very interesting. Keeps you occupied all the time, and it is endless. There's so much of origami. I mean, to do in this world that you'll never be tired your whole life. And coming to the main aspect, I think, of origami is the modular origami polyhedra. What is a polyhedra? I usually ask this in my presentation in the college campuses. So the next question is, what is a polygon? A polygon is a 2D form with n number of sides, right? So similarly, a polyhedra is a solid with n number of faces. Poly means many and hedra means head. So with solid with many heads. So here we usually refer to regular polyhedras. So very quick, I don't want to get too deep into this topic. I teach this also. Thanks to origami, I was curious about what I was making. The stellated stars and the octahedrons and the tetrahedrons. I wanted to understand what the hell this is. So I went deeper into the subject and it was very fascinating. It's very, very deep. You have duality, you have non-dual polyhedra relationships, and you have 3D tessellations, polyhedra tessellations, and it's like amazing polyhedra sections. So it's crazy. This is, yeah, these are, I'll go very quickly. These are platonic solids named after Plato. Very regular solids. Dihedral angles are same across every vertex. And there are only 5. And Plato has related each of these solids to the elements, like tetra is 4-sided, so fire. Octa is 8-sided, so air. Hexa is 6-sided, so earth. Icosa is water, 20-sided. And the dodeca, which he said that our universe is contained within the dodecahedron, 12-sided. Some terminologies, let me just go: expansion, snubbing, bitruncation, rectification. I think, okay, now these are Archimedean solids named after Archimedes. So there are 13 Archimedean solids. So it is made up of 2 or more types of polygons on the faces. So in the first one, you see triangle and square, then you triangle and pentagon, triangle and hexagon. The ones at the bottom are triangle, square, and a pentagon, the rhombicosedodecahedrons. And then you have snubs also. So all of these can be made using origami. Modular origami, no glue, no cutting, just simple squares. Johnson solids, again, another type of crazy looking asymmetric solids. Pyramids, cupolas, rotundas, elongated by diminished, gyro elongated, some terminologies, augmented. Then you have Kepler point sort. Yeah, so these are really interesting. These are all possible using origami, most of them. My favorite out of this is a great stellated dodecahedron, the second one, which is, the model looks really amazing to make. 30 squares you need. These are some handcrafted drawings that I made of duality. So how a polyhedra fits into another polyhedra using the midpoint method. Prisms, anti-prisms. I think, let me just skip this entire thing. But coming to buckyballs. So what are buckyballs? So they are named after Buckminster Fuller, who designed the geodesic dome. So a lot of carbon structures, basically the carbon nanotube, the carbon molecular structure, the ball, the C60, C80, those things are possible using origami, like this one, simple C60, truncated icosahedron. Then that is a C140 buckyball. That is a C180 buckyball. So every buckyball will use 1.5 times the number of papers. 270 modules here, this one. So quite interesting as a workshop exercise to make. But I then arrived at another topic, which is polyhedra inspired designs. So polyhedra also can inspire you to make designs like this chair. Now this chair can tessellate itself. Like that means you can stack it nicely in this corner without wasting any space. This is some structure that somebody has taken out of a Archimedean solid. So you have square, hexagon, and an octagon on the solid. Quite interesting. This is a farmhouse by these architects. So they have taken inspiration from prism. So keeping it upright, keeping it straight, and the kind of spaces that you get inside are just amazing. So that's the way it grows. The whole building grows in that way. The stacking up of just prisms, tessellations of prisms. Daniel Libeskind, these deconstructive architects are, they sometimes start with very basic forms like the cube, or these are cubes now, you see, just kept on the edge. These are some more sculptures or pavilions inspired by polyhedras. Yeah, that's the stacking I was talking about. This is a truncated tetrahedron stacks. So basically, triangulation is a very good idea. You can triangulate any organic structure and then convert them into frames and clad the frames into your choice of materials. So I think that kinds of wraps it up. Everything about origami. Origami is something that it's more of a doing art and less of a talking thing. So I'm not very much of a talker. I like to spend my time doing things. So maybe next time I would like to visit your college for some workshop where we actually come up with such ideas like this is the Mura tessellation, or the water bomb tessellation, or something interesting. This is, yeah, it's like endless. This is something I made recently. It's like endlessly you're getting, I mean, you never get bored of doing origami. And you can find your own design inspiration for origami. Look at this. This is an octagonal box. So yeah, it keeps you busy. I think that's the most important thing origami teaches you. Patience. So if some of you don't have patience, you must do origami. It'll give you a lot of patience. So I think that's all I have to say.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Architect Anand, for your wonderful presentation. And I'm sure all the participants must have good inputs from your whatever little share you're done in this particular webinar. And I request all the participants to please fill up the feedback form, which is there in the chat box. So
there are some questions coming in also.
Yeah, if you want to ask any question, please put them in chat box. There is one Vivek he's saying if you could allow me to share a small experience at the end of origami, won't take more than a minute.
Oh, you should do it right now.
Yes. Yeah.
So is he there? Vivek, are you here? And yeah, Miranda also. Miranda has a question.
Yeah.
What kind of software do you use to make the origami? I use AutoCAD. I use AutoCAD to make my diagrams because AutoCAD is quite an easy software. I'll just share my screen. Oh, you've disabled my screen sharing. Can you just allow me for a second?
Yes.
Oh, and Vivek is not able to unmute himself. So.
Okay. Yes.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like few years back, I was in an examination hall and was done with my examination. and I just had some spare time, so I started rolling the question paper,
Okay.
and uh, I just, if you can see, I started pressing it alternately like this. This is, I made a roll and I started pressing it,
Okay. 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 Okay.
and then suddenly I don't know what happened. It just slipped out of my hand and fell, and it just unrolled. And this
Oh.
is what it became like.
Oh,
And this
yes.
caught my
Yes. Yeah.
interest because it just looked like a snake skin.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So this is where I just
Hmm.
got the interest into origami.
Yes.
And like,
This
it's not
actually,
an hobby of mine, but yes.
yeah, if you could scale this up to a larger size where human height fits that space, I think you could convert this into a bigger building, or maybe a bench also, maybe a small, if you imagine this to be for 15 inches, this could be a bench, nice park bench or something like that.
Yeah, being an architecture student, like I am
Yeah.
thinking about this. I can try something out.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Or a simple column itself. Your column itself could be
Yes.
like this, uh, just using it vertically. So it's just the way we
Yes.
look at things. I think should make it interesting.
Okay. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Great, great, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, there is one more person named Nihal. He's asking, where can we see more? Where can we see more of your work? Do you have any blog? Yes. Yeah, I'm sharing Architect Anand's YouTube channel. You can subscribe it.
Yeah, I created a YouTube channel in the pandemic for people to uh,
Yes.
make models. But other than that, I have a Instagram page. I don't know how to share. How do you share Instagram? The handle you uh,
Just share your name by the name you are having your Instagram page.
okay. I think this one. Oh, sorry. This went privately. Sorry.
It's Anand Vishwanathan 1009.
Yeah. I keep putting my sketches and all here. I do a lot of sketching also, and so and photographs from my workshop and things like that.
Okay.
YouTube channel, I think Manisha, you can share it.
Yeah, I shared it.
Okay.
I shared on the yes. Yeah. Any more questions?
Amitoj is asking how to deal with negative space or dead space since triangles are being used. And because of triangle, we have many negative spaces created in a design.
Uh, that is an architectural question, but
Right.
I'm sure there are many ways to use negative spaces. I mean, storage is something that you can use to cover it. Planters, maybe. Uh, if your plan is a triangle, then you have a negative space at the corner, which you can cover it with a shelf or something. You can have an open shelf, you can keep your little models there. You see the shelf behind me, it's very tiny little shelf. I do tiny origami nowadays. It takes up less space.
Because if your negative space is complementing your positive space, then it's okay. And
Yeah,
if
yeah, yeah.
there are triangles, you should have changed the scale of the. If you want to use that space, you should change the
Yeah,
scale of triangle.
yeah, 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 exactly. Hmm. There are ways and means. I think you just need to keep looking around everywhere, be more observant.
Yeah.
Negative spaces you will find. You go to the old city, you have plots that are so not rectangles, that are maybe triangles, or the corner plot would be a triangle or something. See the way they have used space in the old cities. Most every city has an old city, right? Like Ahmedabad has a old walled city. You go to Bikaner, you go to Jaisalmer. Every city has an old city from where it started. So at those places, you find the way they have used space to the maximum.
Yeah. Okay.
You can have a nice shelf there, inspired by origami, and an open shelf or a partially closed shelf or something.
Okay. Yeah. There is one more question from Nihal. I'm not an architect, but a finance grade. But I have been folding since I was 10-year-old. Can I get more into architectural origami or apply my ideas and design?
Well, I think you're already a finance graduate. I think you're in the right field. Don't come to our architectural field. I want to come to your field.
Yeah,
But
architects are really bad in this finance.
I know. Yeah. We are. It's very important to be good to be able to manage your business and things. Design ultimately becomes just 20% of the whole thing. But yeah, you can get into architectural origami. See, there's nothing as like architectural origami as such. There is nothing like that. You take inspiration from origami into any field. You can study polyhedra. Origami polyhedra. You study. That is quite an interesting topic.
Srishti is asking, do you have any specific kind of paper for making models in architecture?
See, origami may normally we use 80 GSM paper. Okay, the regular printing paper, which is 80 GSM, that is best because most of the origami that I do is with that. But there are some things that I use slightly thicker, 100 GSM maybe or 120 GSM.
Okay.
So, and like I told you, I used to use magazine paper. So I used to go for these architectural, what do you call, conferences and uh, seminars, and they used to have really good their books and those magazines outside. I used to bring them home and cut them and make my models with them. So that paper is good enough, I think. 80 to 100 GSM is good enough for making
80 to
model.
100.
80 to 100 GSM. The normal photocopy paper that we use,
Okay.
printing
Yeah.
paper, that should be good enough.
Okay. Once I just want to give a reminder to all the participants before ending of this meeting, there is a feedback form in chat box. So kindly fill that feedback form before you leave. Secondly, there is appreciation for you from architect Nitin Kurve. He's saying you have architect Anand, thank you. You have nourished us with much needed inspiration in geometry. Kudos to you. Thanks.
Thank you for being patiently listening to me.
Yeah, and he's one of the good artists, and his work has been acknowledged on many platforms. He's a good sketching. बहुत अच्छी करते हैं.
Wow.
Okay.
Rachna ma'am have already shared Anand's contact and his email ID also. You can contact him personally also.
Okay. Miranda is asking, what are the bases to create new origami models? Well, I think probably whatever has had to be created has been created over these so many years. There's nothing left to create. But it's quite difficult to create models. But if you see a TED talk by Robert Lang, I think you'll get to know a lot of things. The way he's still creating insects and all, he's going into details. But that is very, very tough. It's like mind-boggling thing. I think the Japanese were wired like that. They were wired in their mind to create. See, paper was invented in China supposedly, whereas Japanese picked up origami. So Japanese have an amazing culture in all their art forms. You see their Japanese calligraphy, the Japanese bonsai, the what is that flower arrangement, ikebana. Then they have a tea ceremony. Everything is so artistic. Even their yakuza, they are also so artistic to look at. So I think Japanese are amazing with art forms. So, and they are the this lady Tomoko who's still there and who's creating so many amazing models. Right.
Anand, you're not audible.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I had a few books from Singapore that I got on origami, modular origami. So, and a couple of other books. So they were written by Americans. So there are lots of people who are doing origami, who are big time into origami. But you could always try modifying some things, like already existing models. You could try modifying it and trying to make something else.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I like a lot doing modular origami, but to do that, I need to see videos on YouTube,
Yeah.
and then I think, how can I create new models?
Yeah.
But that was the reason of my question. Thank you.
Okay. I think you should do modular origami. You should do modular origami, and you like I showed you some solids, right? Archimedean solids. So you study about Archimedean solids and you'd use those modules to make Archimedean solids. So that is possible. There are 13 Archimedean solids. You try to make them using that, but there's a particular unit. There are many units actually, but every unit can be used to make, like the Sonob unit, the Sonob unit, right? Sonob unit is a particular unit that out of that unit, if you join 3, it makes a it makes an antiprism. If you use 6, it makes a cube. If you use 12, it makes a stellated octahedron. If you use 30, it makes stellated icosahedron. If you use 90, it makes some other giant solid. So the same unit can be used to make different solids. So I think you should try trying a unit to make different, explore more. So modular origami has a lot of scope, I think. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody has any question? Anybody wants to ask question? So, or we are done with that? Okay. So I think we are done with all the questions.
Okay.
Now I request. Yes, there is our senior professor has congratulated you. Amazing presentation. Nice to know means of unfolding stress by folding it. Professor Nima Guzarkar, our senior faculty.
Oh, thank you so much. It is stress buster. It's a totally stress buster. Yeah. When just takes away your stress. Just sit down and fold, and you just forget about time and what you're doing. Your tensions just go away. Yeah, and you end up with a beautiful model that you are happy to look at, and you get a sense of achievement also.
After going through your presentation, I feel I have not done even 1%. 8% bhi nahi sikha abhi tak. Done more.
Oh no, even I have also not explored too much into this field. There are lots of things that I need to do, but problem is my legs are everywhere. I'm doing that. I'm doing this now. I'm learning Urdu now. I'm in the middle of it. So yeah, I need to. Sometimes I think I just need a break and go on a drive. But wahan jaake bhi I get involved into something. I think my nature is like that.
Yeah, and yes, we'll definitely invite you for a workshop in our college.
Oh, I would love to. I would love to. Yeah.
Yes, we are at the end of the session now. So I'd request Professor Anuya Moril Kiledar. She's our Dean Design to propose a vote of thanks. Yes, Anuya ma'am, over to you.
Hello, Anand sir, and everyone who is present here today. It was a great success, I would say, because of the number of people who have turned up for this program. Apart from that, I would really want to thank Architect Anand for his wonderful introduction to origami and letting us know about the relationship between origami and mathematics and art and geometry. as well as furniture and product design, and of course, architecture. So it was a very wholesome introduction to origami. I hope every one of you has at least gotten interested into dipping their toes into this
Oh,
into this
yes.
lovely art form. And it was great to look at the wonderful examples that you have shown, and the way that you have worked with your students, the way the students have explored. It has given us quite a lot of ideas of what we can do with in our college. And of course, we are definitely are going to give you a call back so that we can have the origami in architecture 2.0
Oh,
from
yes,
there.
surely.
So we are definitely looking forward for that. I would also like to thank all of you who have present here, and also those who have been watching us live on YouTube, um, uh, for their patience, for their interest in this lovely art form. And I would also like to once again thank all the organizers for this lovely opportunity, giving us this lovely opportunity, where we have been introduced to endless possibilities of a simple two-dimensional form of a paper, and how endless the possibilities are, how endless the applications are of converting them into so many different forms. So thanks once again. And especially all the people who thanks to all the people who actually had so many questions after the program, especially Vivek, who has told us his inspiration story. I hope all of you put down this program as your inspiration stories later on, once you have started working with your origami. So thanks everyone once again. Thanks Nikhil,
Yeah.
Manisha, and everyone involved in the organization. And last but not the least, thanks Anand sir. It was a
Thank you so much.
lovely,
Thank you
lovely,
so
lovely
much.
program.
Thank
Okay, everyone. Thank you. So, should we end the meeting, ma'am?
Yes, yes. We can end the meeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Bye. See you, Anand sir, soon.
Bye. See you. See you. Yeah, hoping
Bye.
to,
Bye.
yeah, looking forward to meeting you on
Yeah.
campus.
Yeah. Of course. You're always welcome.
Yeah, please fill
Yeah.
up
Bye. Bye.
form before you leave.